Each one of us is here to do something profound that only you can do for you and I can do for me. This is my spiritual purpose. This is what I've devoted my life to. This is what I'm centering the rest of my breaths to do, is to get this information out there.
Any successful relationship starts with finding your center, the truth at the core of who you are. Only then can you develop the ability to truly connect with someone else. Concentric is about aligning with people who share a common center. This show gives you the tools and the skills to do just that through practical training, real-life stories and examples, and in-depth interviews with people who have taken this journey and come out the other side better for it. Welcome to Concentric. We're glad you're here. Welcome to episode 24 of Concentric. And this one's a little bit different. If you've watched these over the last year or so that Gary and I have been doing them, usually our pattern, we'll do an episode, and after we record, I jump on and do these intros to kind of tee the episode up. And this one is actually several months after we recorded this episode. See, Gary took me through one of his core processes that he takes his clients through to really break through and let go of maybe, something going on that's been going on for a while, or his clients have felt held back. And I had something going on similarly. We talk about it in the episode, and been dealing with that for a while. And he took me through this process. It's an interesting thing to go through on camera. and I think that certainly layers into it. It was still, I feel, effective for me on the other side. This is sort of me reporting back a little bit to the results. It's an interesting thing because in a lot of this work, and some of the things I've done with Gary in the past have been an instant, wow, I feel better, moving on kind of thing. This, what we work through, I felt those initial effects, and you'll hear me describe those in this episode, at the end of this process that is so powerful. And I think then after, though, there was this, I think this process really planted the seed for shifts and changes that have happened over the last few months of showing up stronger, showing up better, the energy I have now, who I am now. So I wanted to share this with you, as maybe kind of vulnerable as it is to me going through the process on camera here. It's so valuable, and what Gary is doing is so important. I even had a great conversation around this with my dear friend, Patricia Lindner. She has her own show, Magnificence, which is just fantastic. And we were kind of discussing this, both the process and me even, releasing this episode, because it does bring up this idea of, when do we confront past events to, resolve them? And when do we keep bringing them up and keep bringing them up that keeps them alive? Past events that maybe have held us back, or past behaviors. And I think that's kind of where we landed a little bit too, is this idea of, what Gary walks me through in this episode that you'll see that he does so much for his clients. It's not in this traditional talk therapy approach of, hey, let's talk about this again. Let's talk about this again. Let's talk about that. How do you feel about that? It's bring this feeling, or sometimes the events, but often a feeling from the past, to neutralize it, to resolve it, so that never gets brought up the same way again with the same emotion. And I think there really is a place for moving forward in life and not keep talking about our limitations, talking about, this thing that happened and now life is like this, or whatever that may be. And it's, hey, let's move forward. And then along that path, when there's something that man, there's a sticking point, right? That's when this process that Gary takes me through, it becomes really important. Like there's obviously something going on. It's a sticking point. It keeps rearing its head. Let's deal with it. Let's look at it. It wants to be seen. Let's see it, and let's go through it. So I wanted to set that up and sort of report back ahead of time, even though this is before you're watching it, to get my take on this approach, and then also to clarify a couple of things as he walks me through this process live, but in real time in front of you here. Some of the things that I don't think we explained as well during the episode, some of that prep work, like you'll hear him talk about a green paint and a sound and a taste and things like that. Those are things that he's not saying, hey, do this. He brings up ahead of time. Hey, what's a fragrance that is good smelling to you? What is a taste that so he gets those from me, and then that's what he's repeating back. So just a little clarity there. Fascinating process. I hope it's helpful to you watching this episode and kind of shed some light on what's possible to get to the other side of maybe an issue that you're having, or the other side of the emotional attachment to a past trauma, or the emotional reaction to a past trauma, and getting you to the other side of that. All right, let's jump in. Oh, Gary, it is so awesome to see you again. Welcome to another episode.
No, it's really good to see you too, Jason. I am so happy to be here because I miss our conversations when we don't have them as frequently as we could. But we've both been like really, really wildly busy. So
absolutely, and we've got a few things to talk about, and I think we'll become a couple of episodes today. But this first one, I wanted to dive in with you as we caught up, as we do when we get on these. I'll share with the audience here what I was sharing with you, which is really this state of stuckness, of just, I call it spinning, right? Just being in this state of, what am I doing? I feel like I'm hiding. I'm just not putting myself out there in all the ways that anyone needs to, just to run a business, right? In the simplest terms, I'm not doing that. At an even greater level, the kind of business and the kind of things that I'm doing for myself and for folks is really putting myself out there like this. This is easy. I consider this a conversation. I can do this all day long, but when it's solo and when I'm having that content and sharing that with you, and just knowing the amazing transformational coach that you are, and you immediately went into, here's how I help people. We've talked about it on the show. And you're right in the middle of helping people through this process that you do. We started down that road. And so viewer, I'm kind of bringing you up to speed a little bit, because it is a bit of a process, we've been talking, 30 minutes here, it's not some drawn out thing. But it is enough of a process in this first half that Gary has taken me through. And we really wanted to continue that process for you, so you can see both what's possible and how this kind of works. But we also thought it was very relevant to do because of how prevalent this feeling that I'm having is in the world. I've had conversations this week with other people feeling this same way. And Gary, you know better than anyone else how prevalent this is, and kind of what we're even talking about that causes this.
Yeah, I will say that there's a lot of information out there about creating high performance, and all of it's good and all of it's relevant, and hats off to everyone out there in the space speaking high performance. And there's a piece missing. And that piece missing, because 90% of us that rest at the subconscious level, is the piece that no one actually really addresses. Well, I won't say no one, but most people don't address it to the depth that it needs to be addressed. Fundamentally, because many training companies don't dive deep enough because they haven't discovered what will actually work and the very complex bowels and the root cause of what causes low performance or resistance to success. And we could go, it's a belief, it's my relationship with my dad. All that's true. All that is part of it. But if we're going to get all the tendrils of these deep-seated aspects that stop us from high performance, and what I mean by that is stop us from putting the effort out to create unstoppable mission and drive to succeed whatever it is you're trying to succeed at. Now, some people think, success is multifaceted and across all contexts. It could be, I want to be a successful partner to someone. I want to be a successful parent to a child. I want to be a successful son or daughter to my parents. I want to be a successful partner in a business. Success is multifaceted. Or I want to be successful in my relationship with God. Whatever it is for you, it's great. But when there's things that are stopping us from putting out that full effort, that kind of relentless, resilient effort to go for a mission-driven goal, and we find ourselves stopping short of it, it's because something else is occurring. It's an energy of some form. So what we have to start looking at, if we're going to make dynamic progress, and we think we're going to do it at the conscious level by figuring it out, like you can't solve something with the instrument that broke it. So our thinking is what causes the malaise, and we can't necessarily solve it by thinking about it. This is why, journaling is great, but it isn't deep enough. It'll help you define what it is, but then resolving the overall emotional states, because all of our behaviors are emotionally driven, and we are the architects of our emotional states, but we have to understand what the deeper structure is. And as we were talking, I asked you a very simple question. This is a question I ask most clients when we are working and beginning to work at the subconscious. What I just need to say to pre-frame this is that the subconscious mind is our servant. It is highly moral. It will protect you if you don't have the resources to deal with something. It'll keep it in hiding. It'll keep it suppressed. When we grow and we have the resources, it'll begin to slowly start to surface that information up that is most important for you to access at this moment in time. We've talked about this before, but we've never quite gotten to the place we're at right now. And so as Jason and I were speaking, I said, okay, we have this symptom, and the symptom has an emotion. And if that emotion could look like something, what would it look like? And Jason gave me an image, and I said, fabulous. He had emotions around it. And then I asked him, how old is this? How old is this feeling? And he said, it's 50. That was the first word that came up to my mind. It's 50 years old. He said, but I'm not 50. I'm like 49 and some months. And I said, okay. And then I said, this could absolutely happen in the womb at conception. And most people go, well, how can that be? You don't even have a brain. You don't have, you have cell mitosis. That's about it. How could that even happen? And this is where, I'm only speaking from the perspective that out of, I know it's more than 30,000, but I'm just going to claim that 30,000 clients I've seen worldwide. I've figured it out, and it goes like somewhere like 50, but that seems extreme. So I'm just going to leave it at 30. But 30,000 clients worldwide over a 35-year career, working at least 20 to 25 clients a week for 30 years. What I know is that we have a subconscious mind. And that subconscious mind is so powerful. It's not describable by any realm of science or research. They have not been able to determine just how powerful the subconscious mind is. But there is an animating principle, which I'm going to call the soul. So regardless of our beliefs and our religions and all of that, let's just put that aside and recognize universally, something is animating the physicality of our bodies, and it's not our minds. So something gives us the spark of life. And in that spark of life is consciousness, and that consciousness is hyper-aware. And I believe, because I've seen it, and I've worked with clients that go back to this, at the point of conception, the soul will know what type of environment it is being incarnating into. Now, that may be an extreme belief to many people. Fine. Hold on to your skepticism, and that's great. This isn't about pushing any kind of belief. It's just about sharing what the discoveries were as I worked with so many people. And unbeknownst to me, they would go back to that point, which was where it all started for them. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So there must be consciousness at the point of conception. I'm thinking, okay, I don't know that scientifically. All I know is by the repetition of what has shown up over repeated clients through time.
Just to interject for the
Please.
audience's sake too, is that's what's interesting. It's several layers of this, but that's one that this isn't Gary going, okay, now go back to the point of that. Like
No.
you ask them. It's very much led by them. So much of this process is. It's not, okay, go to this age and what did you feel, or go to that.
I'm not leading.
Yeah, and I think that's an important distinction.
Thank you for that. I asked the client, and as soon as I asked Jason, he goes 50. I'm like, okay, cool. So 50 years old. He goes, yeah. And that's he said, well, you can say it, Jason. That was the first thing.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what came to me. And I said, that it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So, but this is what came up.
Yeah. And so we asked for a representation of this particular feeling that Jason was having. And he came up. You can share it if you want to. You don't have to share it. This whole process can be done content free.
Yeah, and I'm happy to share because I think the more context that folks have, I mean, this is it's better, right? And I don't mind at all. So for me, and it's been years of doing this. Everything on paper for me, I should be thriving in business, thriving at whatever I want to do. And whatever this is, keeping me from that. Inside. I've never put it out on anyone else ever. I know it's here, but I don't know what that is.
And you haven't known what to do with it.
Yeah. And it's been baffling I know what I want to achieve. I know everything I need to do so. I've got it. Right. And then it's this fuzzy wall, like this fuzzy, like I feel like I'm in slow motion, like feeling of that I can't get there. And it doesn't make any logical sense at all.
And what Jason and I were speaking about is how many people, the reason we're doing this is because we both concluded out of all the people I work with and the people that Jason works with, that there is this repeating pattern of people feeling stuck, not knowing what to do with it because it seems like there's such a complexity around it that they can't pull it apart into chunks and actually start to create resolution. So what happens is they will try to figure it out in the mind or try to take action that gets stunted. And then when the action is stunted and they can't follow through, they feel worse. So it just adds to the feeling of I'm so stuck. I don't even care anymore because I can't break it through. So we decided we were going to do this today. And let me just speak a little bit about complex trauma and the process that I've been utilizing for that. And what complex trauma is, it's different than acute trauma. Acute trauma is a one-time event, boom, like a car accident. You get beat up, you get you get sexually assaulted, some other horrible thing happens to a loved one, that is an acute trauma. Complex traumas are small, discomforting, shaming, or frightening events that happen over time. They become complex in a ball of evidence that our minds use as why we can't do X, Y, and Z. So what we're going to be doing is working with complex trauma. I suggested to Jason that would probably be the best process to use with him, and just to see what kind of movement we can make. And we're going to put it on the podcast show, and we're gonna trial it out. We have not done this process. We've done acute trauma with Jason before, but we've never done complex trauma. It's a process that I just started to do with trauma memory solution technique, because I recognize that the client would spend about 4 months and thousands of dollars with me for me to go through every single trauma that they had. So I thought, okay, how can we do this cost effectively, get the biggest change, and work as expediently as we possibly can? I came up with this iteration of it, and we're going to trial it out with Jason. When you're ready, Jason, I have a little bit of a pre-frame. We've set the process up. We know what the image is. That is the symbol of the emotional state that you have, that you feel has been keeping you stuck. We have your meta resources, so we'll go ahead and use those. Just for the listening audience, this process breaks down in about 2 or 3 different sections. This next section is the section on eye patterns. So, Jason, I'd like you to imagine, well, let me just throw this out to you. Have you ever asked a person a question and their eyes do something like this? Like you ask them a question and they go, and then they answer you in some random movement that they move their eyes in order to access information. It's almost like they're looking for it. Mm-hmm. Those are called eye pattern strategies. So when people are looking up, they're sorting for visual images. When they look laterally, they're sorting for sounds. When they look down, they're sorting for feelings. There are 6 points. I'm not going to go into the eye pattern chart and what each point means, but each point means something. So what we're going to do is we're going to access that symbol. And for the listening audience, symbology is the language of the subconscious mind. That's why all of your dreams are symbolic. Your subconscious mind is symbolically representing it. So what we've done is we now have a symbol of this overall emotional state that is this just ball of string that a kitten got and mixed it all up of a variety of different experiences that contribute to this lack of being able to create massive follow-through, a stuckness that we want to be able to clear up as quickly as we can. So because symbols are so vitally important to the subconscious, like if you take a cross and flip it upside down and stick it in the ground upside down, that means something totally different than the cross sticking right side up. If you take a swastika and take the one that goes down and the one that goes up, those 2 little points, and you flip them, it turns into an ancient symbol from Tibetan Buddhism on enlightenment. So what we have to look at when the symbols change, it changes the meaning completely. So when we're able to create movement by shifting the symbol, then we'll be able to see a shift, perhaps, in what happens in Jason. Now, the bigger issue is a week, a month from now, is he taking greater action? All of this is for naught if it doesn't change the behavior. So what we have to look at then is, do these techniques eventually change behavior? And over the 30,000 plus clients I've seen, it always creates a breakthrough and the change is permanent. Will the change need to be reinforced by additional actions like defining the mission, getting on purpose, getting great rest, making sure that he's exercising, making sure that he is keeping his beliefs at a high enough level and taking massive actions every day to particular goals. Yes, that strengthens our resiliency. So all of those have to be put in place as well, which we will do. But the very first step is, how do I start making movement out of this fuzzy, cloudy, like running in slow motion state that I've not been able to get out of? That's the intent of today. Okay, so Jason, you're going to imagine 6 points, 2 lateral with your eyes, 2 above your eyes, and 2 below your eyes. Okay? So we're going to move your eyes in random directions, completely random, but it's going to be at a moderate pace, not a fast pace, not like that. You're going to go about like this, just a slow, methodical pace, about like that. You're going to hit all 6 points. So in a moment, you're going to close your eyes. You're going to bring up that image. I want you to imagine evoking the emotions of that image as high as you can get them to activate the nervous system. Once you've done that, you'll open up your eyes and you'll begin to start moving your eyes in random directions, which I will direct you to do. Your job is that you use the power of your imagination. After all, Einstein did say that imagination is more important than intellect, because what you can imagine, you can make real. And the subconscious mind takes vivid, sensory-specific imagination as fact. So we're going to scramble up the way that this symbol has been locked into your nervous system and everything associated to it. And then we're going to visually anchor all the positives from your meta resources onto it and reimagine it different over and over and over again. The one thing I didn't explain is that when we have memories, the event comes into your nervous system through 3 primary senses: the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. So if everyone listening to this actually got a memory right now, go ahead, take a moment and get a memory. Any memory will do. Then notice that the way you're experiencing the memory is you probably first see a picture. You may have associated sounds, but you'll have feelings associated with the image that comes into your mind of that memory. So all of the events that have happened to us have come in through the 3 primary senses: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, through a very specific sequence of how it entered the visual system, the kinesthetic system, and the auditory system. That is then forms the eye pattern strategy, very much like a combination to a safe. The right combination unlocks the safe. The right eye movements will unlock the full representation of the memory that you've been asked to retrieve, or the body of information you've been asked to retrieve. So all the things of the past are locked into us in an eye pattern sequence of how it originally entered our nervous system. When we scramble up the original pattern or the original combination or sequence of how the event entered us, we cannot get it back with the same emotional hit ever again. And the change is permanent. When we contaminate positively with all of our resources over the existing visual image of whatever that event was or symbol was, and we resource it and resource it and resources, we cannot get it back ever again with the same emotional hit. And therefore, it starts to create a ramification like a boulder dropped into a still lake in the mountains, sends out a ripple effect through the subconscious.
I hope you're enjoying this episode. If you
after.
want to take a deep dive into the concepts Gary is talking about here and so much more, I've got something for you. From time to time on the show, you may hear us talk about Gary's course, Creating Incredible Relationships. This course is the culmination of Gary's 35 years worth of seminars, one-on-one training, and transforming the lives of over 11,000 people on 4 different continents. To learn how to build alignment and heck, just get along with others sometimes, we all require skills that are not commonly known and are not out there in the relationship development space. We need help. That's why Gary put this course together. The content in it is powerful and comprehensive. But just like we've done with this show, it's put together in a way that's easily consumable and quickly implemented. To gain the ability to take every relationship you have or want to have to the next level, go to garyscourse.com and see how to get started. Now, back to the show.
Okay, now I feel complete to start. So when you're ready, Jason, I'm going to invite you to just move your eyes in those random patterns in a moderate pace. So just make sure you have the sequence right and that you hit all 6 dots. Would you do that for me, please? Good. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you when you're ready, and only when you're ready, to go into that emotional state. And can I share what the image was?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So when you're ready, go into that emotional state. And the image that his subconscious mind gave him was a child hiding underneath a blanket in a corner. So continue to see the image. More importantly, feel what that child's feeling underneath that blanket. And bring up those emotions as high as you can get them. When you're feeling them fully, open your eyes. Begin moving your eyes in random directions. Continue to see that image. Continue to feel the feelings of that image. Continue to feel the frustration of being stuck, not being able to take massive action like your heart desires. Continue to feel that frustration. See the image, move the eyes, hold on to the emotions. You must hold on to the emotions and move the eyes simultaneously. Hold on to the feelings, move the eyes, stay in the experience, continue to observe it. If there's any sounds associated with it, hear the sounds, see what you're seeing. Most importantly, hold on to the emotions and keep moving the eyes. Continue to move the eyes, holding on to that image, feeling the feelings, but move the eyes. Continuing to move the eyes, see the image, feel the feelings, and hear any sounds, but move the eyes. As you move the eyes continuously throughout this process, with the power of one-pointed imagination, imagine 1 trillion gallons of this most beautiful green flooding into this image, filling this image up, submerging it in green, coloring it down to the molecular level, down to the DNA. Everything turns green. Turn it green and imagine billions of glowing orbs permanently affixed to the surface of this image. You have a green background with billions of glowing orbs permanently affixed to the image. Hear the sound of a choir of voices singing. Physically take in a massive deep breath of the smell of roses. Breathe it in, Jason. Massive deep breath. Taste strong black coffee in your mouth and throat, and be saying the word in your mind, glow, glow, glow. Go back to the image. Try to get the image back. Try to re-feel the same feelings. It will be difficult, but try to get them back. Go back into it. See the image. See the child under the blanket as best you can. Hear any sounds as best you can. Feel the feelings as best you can, but continue to move the eyes. Imagine another 1 trillion gallons of green paint coming into this image, submerging it, coloring it down to the molecular level, down to the DNA. Everything turns green, inside and out. Everything turns green. Imagine affixing to the surface of this green background another 1 billion glowing orbs. Permanently affixed, they cannot be removed. and imagine each one of them getting brighter. Physically take in another deep breath of the smell of roses. Breathe it in. Taste strong black coffee in your mouth and throat. And be repeating the word glow, glow, glow. One more time. Imagine another 1 trillion gallons of green paint entering this scene, flooding it, submerging it, penetrating it with green down to the molecular level, down to the DNA. Everything turns green inside and out. Imagine another billion golden glowing orbs being affixed to the surface of this memory, permanently affixed. They cannot be removed, increasing in their light. Hear and amplify a sound of 1,000 choirs, voices, singing in the background. Take in another massive deep breath of the smell of roses. Breathe it in. Taste strong black coffee in your mouth and throat, and be repeating in your mind the words glow, glow, glow. Continue to move the eyes. Continue seeing it in green, the golden orbs, the choir of voices, smelling the roses, tasting the coffee, and repeating the word glow. And when you feel ready, and only when you feel ready, you can close your eyes, but only when you feel ready. Continue to see it green. Continue to see the golden orbs. Continue to hear the choir of voices. Every breath, breathe in the smell of roses, and continue to taste strong black coffee in your mouth and throat, repeating like a mantra, glow, glow, glow. When you feel ready, Jason, only when you feel ready, in your own good time, you can open up your eyes. But take all the time you need. Taking a few deep breaths, Jason. Reach yourself back in your body a bit. So I'd like you to re-look at that image that your subconscious mind gave you and just tell me what it visually looks like.
It's brighter. Like it, if we didn't express it, that image was the blanket in a dark corner. and this last, when I close my eyes again, besides those visual elements that you heard Gary describe, just the blanket flew off. And the little boy came and hugged me.
Wow.
Because he was so relieved and happy.
How does it feel, my friend?
Strong, vibrant, emotional.
I got a little tear in my eye here. Okay, so what generally happens, Jason, is that because we worked on the gestalt of this issue that has been with you for a lifetime, and people I know will think, oh, it cannot possibly be this easy. This was a setup, It literally, I swear to you, it was not. Jason presented this particular issue before we actually started talking about what we're going to talk about today. And I can't stand people in pain. So if I know I can do something to help, I'll help. And I thought, I suggested, why don't we set this process up and do this as our podcast? So people can understand that there is hope to an overriding, sometimes lifetime malaise, it can be done quickly. My opinion, we don't have the time to sit in long, laborious sessions talking about our issues, our stuckness. We have to start working at the subconscious level, at the level of symbology, and start working there so we can start making massive movements. Each one of us is here to do something profound that only you can do for you and I can do for me. This is my spiritual purpose. This is what I've devoted my life to. This is what I'm centering the rest of my breaths to do, is to get this information out there because it works, it's powerful, and it can relieve people's sorrow and depression very quickly. So what I'm up to now is just training people to do this, because the more people out there doing this, the more it can spread. Every family should know this. Every child should never have to experience trauma. Every adult should be able to clean up their own trauma so they don't project it into their relationships and create toxic family environments. We have to wake up to really what our potential is and how our nervous system and our emotional states work. We are the architects of them. And because we need to give the gift we've come here to give, and nothing should be stopping us from doing that. I love Jason. I'm so happy today that there's been some movement around this because, dude, you're such a light and you're such a gift. You've been such a gift to me. And I just am so looking forward to continuing to support you. And I'll do that till I croak. So hopefully that'll be a while.
That. Love you too, Gary. I really appreciate that. And, just to anchor this for folks, and I know this feeling that manifests itself, and to speak on that subject of spending hours talking about it, right? I mean, even as someone who is introspective as I am, and I don't blame the outside world, I know there's something the years I have spent with this feeling, this something that I couldn't define and couldn't, even with that and all of that focus, I was sick of talking around, even to myself, or describing it to anyone else. And I just know, I have a knowing that there is that feeling resonates with so many people, having that something that they're dealing with. It keeps showing up in their life, keeps holding them back. And again, not this outside thing, but this internal something, and they just can't define it. And this speaks to that. And it is so incredibly needed in this world.
So Jason, based on what you're feeling now, because, I need to say this change is permanent. He will never be able to get back that image in the same way. And I seriously doubt he'll ever have that really stuck, frozen state again. That remains to be seen, but this has been the repeating pattern. And we'll just report back on that in subsequent podcasts. So Jason, tell me what you're feeling right now. And if you had something to say to people who can relate to what you've been experiencing about, is there hope based upon what you're feeling around that thing that had been with you since I've known you, what would you say to those people who were like, or are like where you were?
I would definitely encourage them to go through this process. Certainly, reach out to you and do this and figure this out. But this question of hope is, I mean, I can feel it now. I physically and emotionally feel different. I feel lighter and open, and I feel bolder and stronger. Like I just feel like I want to sit up more. I can't sit up enough. Like it's that feeling. And to Gary's point, and to anyone watching, listening, who have tried these other things, certainly there's a feeling of, well, yeah, I've learned something or had a breakthrough or had something that I felt good in the moment. And there is, of course, that feeling. It's that logical feeling, like, see, I feel tomorrow, in a week, in a month. But I also can report that I haven't felt this way, that I can't even express, and I don't have words for that shift that I feel right now.
That's what most people experience, because this works at the biology of emotions. It works at the neurological level. It's not contained to the conscious mind and to the reasoning mind. This works beyond that. It was a gift to me. It's not like I'm the sharpest knife in the drawer, but this was a gift to me, and I discovered this process literally quite by accident. So what I know is that this is what I'm meant to do, and teach as many people as I possibly can to facilitate other people, because the world is becoming more unsettling, and we have to bring a sense of stability first inside of ourselves, and then that will begin to outpicture outside of ourselves. But we cannot be a demonstration of a chaotic or fearful mind in our communities. We have to start becoming a source to be able to create more peace and to help other people mitigate the fears that will rise in them over time. And so I'm a man on a mission. This is what I'm meant to do. And I'm going to look very much forward to future conversations with you, my brother.
Like always, my friend. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And I love you. And you take care.
Love you too.
And we'll speak soon. Next podcast.
That's right.
Okay.
And we'll see you all
next
time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Concentric. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd certainly like a great review from you on your favorite podcasting platform. But more than that, what really makes a difference to a show like ours is a recommendation to someone who would love this show like you do. Word of mouth referrals to your network and your podcast devouring friends is incredibly helpful to the growth of this show. For episode links and info, go to concentricshow.com. Thank you so much, and remember to keep building alignment to build a better life.
This show is powered by Media Leads. To get your next great podcast produced, go to MediaLeadsCo.com.